Hi everyone, and welcome to this Q&A. I stepped outside. I was thinking about recording it inside, but this is a beautiful day, and we can all relax. First of all, thank you very much for your contributions, for your questions. I haven't recorded a video in like 10 years or something, so but seeing that so many people are interested in my story, the cult I was in, and so I decided to record this in hopes for somebody as some kind of help, or just for people who are interested in, so you can learn more about these kind of things. Before I go into the questions, a little bit about myself. I I am a student at university, which also resulted in me leaving the cult. I'll get more into that later. And I'm 33 years old. Been in the cult for 14 years, the majority of my adulthood. So yeah, let's start. Before I go into the questions, I wanted to talk about what actually constitutes as a cult. As someone already pointed out in the comment section, not every cult is necessarily religious. So if you go online, there are like checklists for that. But I prefer sticking to those that are like from psychologists, because they come from a different angle. They approach it a bit differently, and it is more scientific. And this guy, Stephen Eichel, he listed a couple of factors in an interview. He's got more. Like if you Google him, you'll find more. But I didn't want to make this too long. So here we go. So what actually constitutes as a cult? And the first thing he mentions is beware of any kind of pressure. That's probably the single most important advice I can give anyone. Any kind of pressure to make a quick decision about becoming involved in any intensive kind of activity or organization. I can testify to that. The pressure. At first, these groups, they make you the center of attention, but the pressure comes when they view you as a possible member, and you've been lurking around for a while and haven't decided if you want to join or not. That's when they put on the pressure on you. That's when they say, okay, you got to make a decision. Do you want to stay in with us, or are you gonna leave? They would say this is not charity. And from there onwards, they just put more and more pressure on you. You don't realize it. They it's like putting a gun on your head, if you will. Like it's either this or that. There's no in between. The second factor he mentions is be wary of any leader who proclaims him or herself as having special powers or special insight, and of course divinity. This is a big check mark for our former leader. He passed away like 5 years ago or something. No, actually, like 3 years. Doesn't matter. He it's always the same with these guys. They feel chosen from God. Their opinion is divine. Like if you dare not question his decisions. Yeah, this is a very big point. Third factor. The group is closed. So in other words, although there may be outside followers, there's usually an inner circle that follows the leader without question, and that maintains a tremendous amount of secrecy. Another check. The leader from the cult I was in would have you know, like Jesus with the 12 disciples, he decided, yeah, this is a thing I should do. Have like a very special inner circle, and these guys would talk about like special stuff nobody would ever be a part of. Like they even had their own signature rings, would go on special vacations, talk about finances and whatnot. He would put like special effort into those 12 guys. So yeah, another check. The next factor. The group uses these deceptive means typically to recruit new members, and then once recruited, will subject its members to an organized program of thought reform, or what most people refer to as brainwashing. This takes a little longer to explain. I mean, it would also take away some of the questions you guys asked, so I'll get more into that later, but yeah, most definitely. There's a program how we used to approach people, how we would talk to them. Like everything was planned out, and yeah, the brainwashing is very how do I say, specific, because the group was rather like individual based, as in it's not like a local church where people would attend to. Like it's not like one place. It was all over the world, and small groups here and there. We would call them house groups, based on a pastor in South Korea, Yonggi Cho. He would do the same thing. It's an overarching church, but it is split up into like house groups. We wouldn't have a big building to go to, but would meet like you know, someone's apartment, house, what have you. And so all the burden of like organization is divided. I used to be one of those who was like responsible for like one of those small groups. The group would usually be like six to no, like no actually like 2 to 6 people. If it reaches like somewhere between like 15 or not or so, then we would split that group up into two. So you have like a very personal connection to each member, which again, you know, is all about control. This is all about psychological control. Next factor. Typically, cults also exploit the members, mostly financially. Within the group, they'll exploit members financially, psychologically, emotionally, and all too often sexually. This is true. Without question, you would have to give 1/10 of your income. Doesn't matter how small or big your income was. Doesn't matter if you were in debts or not. It was all for God. Like if you gave, you know, that was this one of those things they bring up very early, that you have to give your 1/10, otherwise they will kick you out. And the sexually part, I'll talk about that in a later part as well. Another factor, I have to split this up into different videos, so I have 1 minute left, so I have to move on quickly. A very important aspect of cult is the idea that if you leave the cult, horrible things will happen to you. This is important, and it's important to realize that people outside of a cult are potential members, so they are not looked upon as negatively as people inside the cult who then leave the cult. Big yes to that. In the cult I was in, you have no idea what they would do to people. Doesn't matter if you are someone's child or if it's your spouse that left. Horrible, just absolutely horrible. So these are the factors that I would consider that constitute as a cult. So all of these are check marks for the cult I was in. So in the next video, I will go into your questions. See you then.